Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Administering SCCM Current Branch and Microsoft Intune Integration tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be discussing on how to construct a query with the query wizard in Config Manager. So to create queries in Config Manager, we need to go to Monitoring. Here in Monitoring, you can see we have our queries. So here you can see we have several queries that are available and can be run directly from the listed queries. So if I just double click on the all system, you can see automatically the query will be run and gives me all the different systems we have in this environment. So I just have a few listed devices or systems in this test environment. It's actually a test environment and not a production environment. So if I right click on the all system, and here you can see, and I go to properties, here you can see we have the all system. And under the object type, you can see we have the system resources. And this is actually different from the other options you can see in the drop down list. So in our drop down list, you can see we have the system resources here we just selected. So we can actually select a different option. For example, I can select the IP network range. So are you sure you want to continue changing the object type? Will discard the current query statement. I don't want to actually change this. So you can see we have different options we can actually select. And here, if I go to the edit query statement, so let's just wait for it to open. So this is going to actually open a new pop-up that will present us with a lot of information about this query. So here under the general, you can see we have our system name, our IP address, our IP subnet, and some other information which is actually related to our system resources. And here if I go here to criteria, you can see at this moment we don't have any criteria. But if I go to join here, you can see the system resources. Actually, it is from this general, by combining both the system resources, that actually gives us goes to join, and you can see the attribute class join that comes from the system resources. So if I go back again to criteria, here in criteria, if you are familiar with the TSQL, that's your SQL table, and the selected statement used by the SQL, in order to gather information from a database and in order to gather extra information spread across multiple databases, you need to join those tables together. But we are going to come to this in a different video entirely when we started creating more queries. So let me just click OK here, and then let me just click cancel. So let me go back again to my query. So here, if you want to actually create your own query, what we need to do is I will need to right click the queries, and here you can see we have the option we can actually import object, export queries, or we can create our own query. So to create our own query, let me just give this query a name. Let me just tap here, test query, and here on that comment you can actually let me just put created by Calvin Johnson. Here you can actually just give a few comments on who created the query or why this query is being created. And here you can see we can actually import a query statement. I can decide to actually import a query, but I want to actually import a query right now. So under the collection limit, you can see here we have the collection limit. We can actually leave it to not collected limitation, or we can actually limit it to a different collection and browse to say, okay, we want to actually limit this to a static. Let me just go to device. We can go to device and select a specific device. But at this moment, I'm going to leave this to not collection limited. So let's start modifying this query. So to modify this query, what we need to do is actually, you can see the object type is actually system resources. So let me just click edit query statement. So when this tab just open, let's just go. I'll come again to the general, but let me first of all go to criteria. So here in criteria, I'm going to click this star here to actually start creating this query. You can see our criterion type is actually simple value, but you observe that most of the queries you'll be creating in the future is going to be actually simple value, and the where to at this moment you can see is empty. So we need to actually click the select. And here under the attribute class, we need to actually just select a specific attribute. You can see we have different attributes class we can select. So at this moment, let me just try to select, let me see, let me just select client operating status, or let me just select the client status. And the attribute we are going to select for this is going to be, we can actually select any of these attributes, but I'm just going to select let me select the last logon and then click OK. And here you can see the operator, it says is equal to, but if I just click the drop down list here, you can see we have different options. And mind you, it depends on what you select under your criteria type and where that will determine the information you're going to get in under the operator. Because if you select some different criteria, you may just get like only just the equal to, greater than, or less than, maybe just the few ones. But here you can see we have milliseconds, minutes, because I select the last logon. So I'm just going to select equal to, and the value we need to actually say the time, the date, time. I'm going to click, and let me just say I want to select the value to be this 25th day, and just click OK. And then now we're going to click OK. So if I go to the join tab, here you can see in the join tab, this is what would now allow me to actually create my criteria in the general tab. At this moment you can see that this tab is empty. So what we need to do is we need to actually just click the star button there, and here you can see we need to actually click select. So here you can see under the attribute class we have the system resources. So it is this system resources that will actually determine the attribute I will need to select for the query that's being created. Here we have attributes, and you can see on the attribute we have different attributes actually we can select. So now I want to just select, for example, let me just select the name. So by selecting the name, it's going to actually give me the name of the system resources, the system of all of this criteria we're going to run later. So, but let me just click OK, and here we can decide to say sort. We can decide to say by ascending, and then click OK. And then we can actually decide to actually insert more attributes. Let me just more queries. Let me just click on that, and then under the attributes, let me select the system resources, and I'm going to select. Let me just select the last logon. Let me select the last logon user's name, and then click OK. And this I just want to select in. Let me just leave this for now for the sort. I'm not going to select that. So here I can decide to just click OK, but you can see we have the show query language. So let me just click on the show query language. So the show query language will actually show you the query that is being created, and this can be very, very useful and helpful in the future. So when you're getting familiar with this query on how to create query, you will tend to actually copy and just paste this query by just manually modifying this query to create your own design. Here you can see we have, for example, we have our system name we actually selected, and also the last logon system name, user's name. So let me just click OK, and here then now we can decide to just click OK. And here you can see our create query with the following properties. Here you can see the properties of the query that is being created. The comment, you can see the comment is also included, which is created by Kelvin. So here let me just click next to actually run this query. You can see that my query is being created, and if I click close, here you can see my query is now among the listed queries. So every new query you create will be actually listed among. So now that our query has been created, let's try to run our query. So if I just right click and then click run, so here you can see we are not seeing any item because there is no device or logon user that actually meets that requirement. So if I go to properties of the query, or this tested query, here if I go to edit query statement, so let's just wait for the query to get started. And here under the criteria, you can see that there was no device or the last logon actually meets this requirement. But if I decide to just remove this criteria here, and then click apply, click OK, and go back again to my query, and then let's just run this query again and see. And here you can see we are seeing some information like the last logon user's name and the name. So the criteria I selected, which was the last logon time, definitely there was no user that actually met the requirement of that time, the last logon time. So that is how you actually create or construct a query using a query wizard in your config manager. Thank you very much for taking your time to watch this video. My name is Kelvin Johnson, and please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more IT videos. So if you have any question, you can just leave your question in the comment section of this video, and I'll reply to you as quick as possible. And if you've not watched my other videos on this training, you can go to the part 1. I'm going to leave a link to the playlist link in the description of this video. So just click on that link and it will take you to the series of video. I think this video is going to be of great help to you if you are trying to learn about config manager. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.